you. Thank you for joining me for episode number 149 of Better Regulate Than Never. Well, I think most of you know that I was a school counselor for 25 years, mostly in high school. And I've just been thinking about this topic so much, and it has to do with choosing a major or even just deciding what kind of job you want to have after high school. I had so many students that if I asked them as a freshman what they were interested in, almost all of them had a solid idea in their mind about what they wanted to do. And then I would ask my seniors about that during their senior visit, and almost all of them were very unsure and didn't know what they wanted to do. And I think part of that has to do with we have a lot of dreams and ideas when we're younger, and we think that we're able to do whatever we want. And then as a senior, we start realizing, oh, I'm not very good at that, or I don't like this, or whatever. And then your ideas get really mixed up. And then you feel like the idea is life or death. Like if you happen to choose something that you don't really like, it's going to ruin your life, which it totally doesn't. But many people get caught up in that. And then there's a lot of misconceptions about degrees. And I had these same misconceptions for so long. Like I would hear so many parents or just adults in general talk about how worthless a liberal arts degree is, or how worthless a creative writing degree or a online gaming degree. All of these things that kids really are interested in and want to do. And it just really made me think a lot about, how can we help young people do the things that they're really interested in doing and things that they're passionate about, and yet they're things that are marketable and things that will actually pay their bills. That's where I got caught up as a parent, because I just kept thinking, well, I want my kids to be able to pay their bills because I can't afford to pay all their bills. And I want them to have some sort of vocation or career that they're interested in. And when my daughter went to college for the first time, we go to that orientation in the summer before you go your freshman year. And they actually pick their classes and major. At least this is the way her situation was during that summer orientation time. And the parents went off into their own meetings to talk about parenting, and the kids went on to their meetings about picking classes. And I remember in the parent meeting, they told us, essentially, it's none of your business what major your child chooses. It's up to them, and you need to stay out of it. And even if they come back to you today and say that they're majoring in German or they're majoring in creative writing or whatever, that's okay, and you just let them. And I totally get that. And there was many times as a school counselor that I was very frustrated with parents when they wanted to dictate what their child was going to do, what activities they were going to be in, what majors they were going to have. And the kids would tell me later, I don't want to do that. And I don't think we should ever be pushing anyone in a direction that they don't want to do. But my story is a little bit similar in the fact that when my daughter met back up with me after those meetings, she said, I want to major in dance. And I was like, well, you can't major in dance because you need something that's going to pay your bills. Like, that's not going to do anything. I said, why don't you dance as a hobby, or, take dance lessons or teach dance lessons on the side to make money, but you need like a real job. You need a real career. And I feel terrible that I said that. And she did end up deciding to be an education major and became a teacher and then a school counselor. She isn't doing either of those things now. And I don't think she would say she was sorry that she went into education, but maybe there was a different path for her, and maybe I shouldn't have said, don't do dance. I don't know that she would have wished she did dance. I'll have to ask her. It'll be an interesting question. But it just really made me think about, if somebody loves creative writing and they want to major in creative writing, they should be able to do it. I think what's missing is what we're doing in education. Now, this is this part's going to be like my opinion, and I don't have any answers for this, so I feel bad about that, but I just felt like I wanted to talk out loud about this. But I feel like if somebody is a creative writing major, or they're an online gaming major, or pretty much most majors, that there is more done during the time you're in school to teach you what you're really going to need to know in order to make that successful. So, even like for my daughter doing a dance degree, there's things that you would need to know as a dance major about how to get your dancing jobs. What are all the things you could do with a dance degree? And maybe if somebody was really specific and knew, I want to teach dance, or I want to be a dancer on Broadway, or I want to own a business where I own a dance school or something, that all those other skills that you have to have in order to make that successful, you're learning that during school. And so I just kept thinking about, so if you were a creative writing degree, what are all the things that you can do with a creative writing degree? And there's actually a lot of things. I was sort of brainstorming myself, what are the things? You could write poetry, you could write scripts, you could write song lyrics, you could write novels, short stories, newspaper articles. You could be an editor, you could be a reviewer, you could coach other people on how to be a writer. I mean, there's so many things you could do with a writing degree, but all of those jobs, no matter which one it was that you decided to hone in on, would require that you market yourself, you advertise yourself, put your work into the universe so people can see it. And you'd have to be able to talk about yourself as somebody that people would want to hire for whatever reason. You'd have to know how to market your book, or your writing ideas, or your newspaper articles to people who then would want to hire you. And really, when you think about all majors that people go into, you also have to know how to market yourself to get any of the jobs. You have to market yourself to write your resume and to write your cover letter, and to even be able to ask appropriate questions during a job interview. And we aren't teaching, at least on a solid basis, we're not teaching these things. Now, I'm sure that colleges have classes about resume writing or cover letter stuff, or I know in high school, I think we probably had a class that taught these kinds of things. Career and life planning was a class you took one time for a semester, and you were supposed to learn all this stuff. And a lot of times kids took it as a freshman, and then they had no dealings with it ever again, and they really needed it when they were getting ready to go on to adult life. So, which is a whole nother thing. In high school, we require all of these credits, and it's all like subject matter for the most part. And where is the application of this stuff? How do you get a job? How do you keep a job? And I had so many students, a lot of my students in the last 3 years, but I had them in every year, students who are neurodivergent or had some different kinds of disabilities, yet they were certainly capable and able to either go to college or to get jobs. They just had different ways of learning. And I felt so often, especially for my students that didn't want to go on to further schooling, for them to even graduate from high school and go get a job was practically impossible, because they learned nothing in high school about how to have a job. They didn't learn on-the-job training, which is what they really needed. I feel like 2 years of their high school should have been actually having a job and having somebody go with them to the job to teach them, how do you act appropriately at a job? How do you talk to your coworkers? How do you talk to your boss? These are things that some kids need to be taught, and we're just acting like, well, get these math and science and English credits and see you later. And I really feel like that's a huge piece that education needs to fix. And as I thought about college, I thought, well, college needs to do the same thing where they're teaching all the other pieces that you need to make these majors actually be successful. Because now that I'm an entrepreneur, I still know nothing about business really other than what I've been teaching myself to be an entrepreneur and to kind of get myself out there. But I I am learning it as I go along because now it's a necessity. This is something that I want to add to what I already do. But if I wanted to be an entrepreneur when I was in high school, and I had a lot of high school students that were very interested in being entrepreneurs in some way, I now realize that you can make anything a business. No matter what your interest is, no matter what you want to do, you can create a successful business. But you have to have all these other skills and these other ways of doing things that are not taught in school. And so if somebody is this creative writing degree and they can see all these different things they can do with it, teach them how to market themselves, teach them how to brand themselves, teach them, maybe even get them an agent while they're still in college, and start getting them a following, start getting people paying attention to them, get them on an email, get them an email list that they can start working with. And then when they graduate and they go off into this career, whatever it is, they already have a small following that they can work with. They know how hard it's going to be and that they have to be willing to work through that in order to get to that success, instead of just assuming it's going to be successful and then they get out there and they don't know how to do it. So I don't know. I feel like this is an opinion piece instead of like any actual learning. And I would be so curious to know what you guys think about what schools do or don't do to help people be successful in anything. I would guess that some of you have the same ideas about what needs to be in high school and what needs to be in college in order for you to be successful in the major that you chose. Like I was talking to my husband about this, and he said, well, think about it in teaching, because we were both educators, so we know what happens in the major or the field of education. We started doing practice education very early in our career. So we were part of the college experience. Was you went into schools and helped, it was like volunteering, but you went in and helped teachers with lessons. And they called them practicums, and you went and you did. And sometimes I was at this school, sometimes I went to this school, sometimes I did a elementary level, sometimes I did a middle school level. So I was seeing what all the different kinds of kids were like, and I was practicing lessons. Sometimes we would create a lesson in a class, and then we'd take that lesson to a school and actually teach that lesson. And then you have student teaching on top of that, where you have a whole semester, sometimes a whole year of student teaching in the field or in the level that you are going into. I was an elementary education major with special education because I wanted to be a special education teacher as well. So I had 9 weeks of student teaching in a regular elementary class, and then I had 9 weeks of teaching in a special education class. So I got to see what all the different things were about. Now, that doesn't mean, no amount of that kind of learning, and especially book learning, would ever get you prepared to actually do the job. You still go into the job like, oh my gosh, what did I get into? I don't know what's going on. But at least I had some experience in those things. I feel like some degrees, people have no experience in it whatsoever. And then you just leave like, oh, see you later. Hope you have fun figuring that out. So I'm not solving any problems, and I feel bad about that. I don't like to ever complain about things and not have a solution. I just think that the solution is that we do a better job in the in the high school setting and the college setting where we're letting our students have a lot of hands-on real world experience in these things so that they know how hard it's going to be to actually make that work when they get out there. And there's nothing wrong with having a creative writing degree or an online gaming degree or a graphic arts degree, because you're going to know how you also need to market yourself. I think that I know that UMAP, since I'm now certified to do UMAP, and that's what I'm really focusing on, that gives you all the words and the tools for you to be able to market yourself. Now, it still is not going to give you on-the-job experience. That's something that someone higher up than me needs to figure out. But if you have all the information about your strengths, your values, your skills, and your interests, and you now have the words to advocate for yourself about what you need, that could be a way for you to have control over your education right now because I don't know if education will ever change. I can't imagine that it won't. It has to, or it won't survive. But it might not happen in your time of being in school. So because we can't change education that quick, you need to be the person that advocates for those things for yourself. And so maybe your school's not going to do it because, like I said, schools can't change that quickly. But if you know what you need in order to market yourself, to be able to advocate for your strengths, interests, and the things that you want to do, then that will give you more confidence to talk to your parents about, hey, I need this experience, or I need to go do this. You can talk to your teachers about what you're needing in the classroom that would make it better for you and easier for you to find that. You can talk to your college professors. You could talk to your coworkers and your supervisors and your bosses about what you need in order to be successful. And most of us don't really know. Like, we have kind of an idea about what we need, but we don't really have like the words on a page that are like, oh yes, this is exactly the path that you need to go. Well, that's why it's called UMAP anyway, because it's a map about you on how you're wired and what you need in order to be successful. So that's my little bit of a way for you to kind of change some of these education things before education ever even changes. So contact me because I would love to be able to help you with this. I am very much wanting to be able to change education, maybe from the outside in. If we're changing some of these things and we're doing this all on our own without their help, maybe they will start seeing how it would be important for them to do inside of the school setting, whether it's high school or college or middle school or even elementary school. I think these things should start at the very beginning. But my experience is in high school, so that's what I know most of all. So please think about it. I would love to hear from you. At least have an opinion about what you think about education and how we can add these things to the educational system so that people can have whatever major they want and it's not wasted, that they can choose anything and it still be something that they can make success out of. So then no one feels like any major is better than another. They're all good. They're all things that people can take and do something with. Just like the UMAP, you can take that information and you can do amazing things with it, advocate for yourself, market yourself, influence others with all of the goodness about you. And I can't wait to help you with that. So let me know. I'll talk to you soon.